ASIS PSC2 standard,
Yes.
right? So I guess first question is, what is the ASIS PSC2 standard?
Okay, the standard is a conformity assessment standard to support auditing, both internal auditing and registration auditing, to the PSC1 standard that we also wrote.
Oh, excellent. Now, I'm fascinated that there is a standard, because that means there wasn't a standard at one time.
Correct.
So how did people go about figuring out how to do audits? It seemed to be probably very subjective.
That's correct. However, the standard is based on an ISO concept of a management system, and so it takes a management system and then goes into the vertical of private security to understand what should be audited and how it should be audited, and what are the requirements, more importantly, for any auditor who's going to do this.
Now, I'm familiar with ISO 2800, which is a security standard.
Yes.
They seem to have their own kind of internal audit recommendations. Does that tie into this kind of?
This does tie into this. So the standard PSC1, which was created first, really deals with private security companies, specifically in areas of high risk. And for those private security companies, it brings in the concept of human rights law. And so there's a very heavy founding in the standards of things like the Montreux document, the ICOC, the International Code of Conduct, that have to do with human rights requirements. And so you really do need to be versed on what those things are before you can audit them, obviously, and before you're even a PSC doing them.
So this is way beyond, I got the right lock.
Yes.
Way beyond this. And I like this idea that it's bringing in, because all security is about what? Not fortification. It's about human behavior.
Correct.
If you're behaving badly, that's a violation of security. That's the bottom line, right?
That's the bottom line. The PSC standards were originally underwritten by the Department of Defense in the United States.
Okay. Was that PSC1?
That was PSC1,
okay,
and PSC2 also. And then we actually took them forward to ISO and have published an ISO standard 18788. And so together, those, again, are standards to deal with PSCs operating in areas of high risk.
Now, let's for people that don't know, let's define PSC. Spell that acronym.
A private security organization.
All right.
If you are going to support our military in an area of high risk, and we can throw out Afghanistan, Syria, any of those areas, you would be a PSC.
Okay.
Okay. And so this standard very much supports that.
So if my company's a PSC, what am I going to use this standard for? Absent a military application,
Right.
What else am I going to use it for?
Well, the Department of State actually, in its last large offering for security services, required the certification to either PSC1 or the ISO standard 18788 in order to bid on those standards, in order to bid on that project.
So what has changed since the last PSC2 standard was published in 2012?
Right. It was very minuscule. It was wording changes because the standard very much supports, again, PSC1, which was approved for recertification with no changes. So there really weren't that many changes.
Now, I would love to be an auditor, right?
Okay.
How do I do that? Because I walk around and I say, violation, squirrel, violation. I'm good at that stuff because I was a cop, right? So we're trained to observe and report, basically, right? And can people get in there and volunteer for this or apply for it? And how would you do that?
Absolutely. So in the third-party world, so out in the registration world to get certified, there's two main registrars who are doing these audits. And so you would have to look at working with one of them. They're certainly looking for every auditor that I have met on a PSC audit has had a background somewhere military and typically special forces.
Okay.
Okay. So you already know what the requirements are to understand the rule of law, to understand the rules of engagement, and be familiar with things
Makes
of
sense.
that nature. Okay. And then the audit pieces can be taught. There's a number of what are called lead auditor classes that are out there, not specific to PSC, but specific to ISO management system standards. So you can take a lead auditor class in, say, ISO 27001, ISO 9001, which is quality or information security, and you'll get the basics as to how do you audit. And to your point, it's very close to an investigation. There are changes, though, to it, but it's very close to that.
Very interesting. Now, I see this at 30,000 feet because I look at all these things. I've done about 1,300 interviews, so I know 1,300 things people know, right? And what I'm seeing is the industry is really getting closer to that sound you see for THX in the movies where it goes and then it's all in tune. We're getting to be more tuned. And now, does this tie into that new Homeland Security thing that says, I'm going to indemnify you if you follow my Homeland Security rules, and I'm going to limit your liability? And it seems like we're getting close to tying these things together.
Not so much with these particular standards.
Okay.
This much more is the fact that many organizations now want you to become a signatory on the International Code of Conduct.
Okay.
Okay, and in order to become a signatory on the International Code of Conduct, you have to have, again, implemented PSC 1 or 18788. And in order to implement them and to get certified to them, if you get certified, you have to have an internal audit. And it has to be against the standard, which is what this conformity assessment very much talks
So
about.
what I'm hearing is this is one certification you get in the big picture of things.
Yes.
To me, it almost sounds like the most important one. If you think about it, if human dignity, human
Right.
rights, I mean, that's...
Yes.
If we can solve that, we're going to solve all the problems above it, really. Because if we get people to behave,
Yes.
do we need ISO 2800? If everybody's behaving, we don't need security.
Well, I sit on the TC that has supported 28,000, and we've actually retired part of it. So
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
So,
That's the goal. Lisa DeBrock, CPP. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Where can we find you on the web? ASIS Online or?
ASIS Online, certainly for standards and guidelines, or my own organization, radiantcompliance.com.
Radiantcompliance.com. Check it out. Back in a minute here at GSX 2019, live from Chicago with Chuck Harold, SecurityGuyTV.com, SecurityGuyRadio.com, and ASISTV.org. See you in a minute.